On our 10-year anniversary dinner, the flowers arrived before we did. No card, no hint of coincidence. A generous bouquet of white lilies, as if someone wanted to make sure the date would never be forgotten. The waiter smiled and asked who had sent them. I smiled back with the certainty of someone who believes they know their own marriage. Must be from my husband. While he went to check the system, my mind wandered to fleeting fragments of Sophia, my best friend. Until that moment, they had been sweet, ordinary memories. But that night, under the restaurant's dim light and the soft clinking of silverware, some of those memories changed texture. I remembered the Saturday when Sophia insisted I borrow her beige wool coat for a work trip. "It'll match what Rafa likes," she said, laughing. At the time, I thought it was funny. Now, the phrase felt far too specific, too intimate. I also recalled an afternoon she stopped by to drop off a pie and ended up helping Raphael change the living room light bulb. They laughed at some inside joke, something about the Tuesday team, a joke that included no one but the two of them. Back then, I found it sweet, friendship blending into our daily lives. Now, that private laughter sounded like a code I was never meant to crack. Then there was the day Sophia showed up with an extra concert ticket, saying she bought it by mistake, and just happened to mention that Raphael loved that band. I passed, too tired from work. They went together. At the time, I felt nothing but gratitude for not having to leave the house. Now that ticket felt like a pass to a place I was never invited. These memories came like quick flashes, not enough to prove anything yet, but enough to plant a haunting question. Had I been standing in the wrong frame of my own life all along? The waiter returned with a different smile. "It came from a number ending in 14, he said. "They said you'd understand." 14, a number I knew as well as my own. Sophia. The bouquet felt heavier now, so did the air. And for the first time in years, I realized the silence between heartbeats can be louder than any ambient music. I reached for my phone almost without thinking, the way you might when you're trying to find some small, harmless detail to convince yourself you're just overreacting. I scrolled through our old group chat with Sophia, messages about recipes, series, silly little things. Among them, a photo from a dinner months ago, Sophia and Raphael laughing at something that had happened just outside the frame. I had taken that picture myself. I remember thinking at the time how good it felt to see two people I loved so at ease with each other. Today, looking at the same image, their laughter had a different angle, an angle I couldn't quite reach. The waiter, still holding his notepad, added casually, "She asked to have the flowers delivered before 8. Said she didn't want to interrupt your dinner." He had no idea how every simple word could become a cut. While I waited, the restaurant felt unnaturally calm. The conversations from other tables floated in like echoes from a parallel world, a world where nothing was falling apart. The smell of fresh bread, the untouched glass of wine, the faint sound of the street outside. Everything seemed to conspire to keep me acting like I always did. Composed, kind, understanding. But something inside me refused to comply. I looked at the mirror on the back wall and saw myself, alone at a table meant for two. A memory broke through. Sophia, just a few weeks ago, saying, "Rafa seems exhausted. Maybe you should give him some space to breathe." It sounded innocent then, something a friend might say. But now, with the white lilies resting quietly on the tablecloth, it felt like a script, a rehearsal to prepare me for something larger. With each passing second, the puzzle pieces began to align. The unfamiliar scent on his collar the other day, which I had blamed on a careless hug. The way Sophia, almost unconsciously, would correct tiny details of our shared past when Raphael got them wrong, as if she had been there more often than I remembered. The restaurant door opened. The chime of the bell signaled someone's arrival, and my eyes instinctively flicked to the clock. 8:05 p.m. He was right on time, as always. Raphael walked in wearing his dark blue coat, the one he always wore on Wednesdays. The smile he offered me was the same as ever, only now I no longer knew what "as ever" really meant. He walked over to the table, kissed my cheek with a practiced tenderness, and said something ordinary about the traffic. I nodded, but his words drifted past me like smoke. Between us, the bouquet of lilies sat like a third presence, silent and all-knowing. Raphael pulled out his chair and sat down. For a moment, our eyes met. I wanted to believe I still knew the man sitting across from me, but for the first time in years, doubt was sitting with us, occupying the space between our glasses. He opened the menu with the ease of someone who already knows all the options, but lingered longer than necessary, an old trick to soften the weight of silence. I kept mine closed. My appetite had vanished the moment the lilies arrived. "You seem distant tonight," he said gently, his voice low. It wasn't a question, but it wanted to be. "Just tired," I replied, offering the mask he expected. But as I spoke, I noticed a small gesture, his hand gripping the napkin like someone holding onto a secret. The waiter brought the wine I had ordered in advance, part of my surprise for our anniversary. He poured our glasses. Raphael raised his, but the toast fell flat. The clink of crystal rang out, hollow, joyless. "To 10 years, he said. "We deserve a toast for that." "We do," I agreed, the word coming out a little too firm, like someone declaring something just to avoid sounding fragile. He began telling a story about a difficult client and a project that nearly collapsed, but I only caught fragments. My attention kept drifting back to recent memories. Sophia calling him late at night to ask for a quick opinion on something in her house, the way she always seemed to sense when he was overwhelmed, sometimes before I did. These things now carried a new discomfort, like finding old notes scribbled in the margins of a book I thought I'd already read. Raphael, distracted, commented on the waiter, the wine, the background music that didn't quite match the vibe. He talked about everything, except us. And I, in turn, thought about everything, except what he was saying. When the main course arrived, the bouquet in the center of the table felt more alive than any of our words. Its sweetness, too much, too persistent. I imagined Sophia calling the florist, choosing white lilies, remembering they were my favorite. I could almost hear her voice. "She's going to love them. She'll think they're from him." "You still like lilies, right?" Raphael asked, as if trying to confirm something obvious. "I've always liked them," I said. "But it's funny. I don't remember mentioning that to you in the past few years." He paused for half a second, too quick to call it hesitation. "I guess I remembered," he said, but his eyes dropped to the wine. I gave him a small, polite smile and turned back to my plate. But inside me, a major piece of the puzzle had just shifted. Dinner unfolded like a scene in a play. Our conversation tiptoed around safe topics: real estate prices, a new cafe in the neighborhood, the weekend's weather forecast. But every sentence sounded rehearsed, and every silence felt choreographed. When the waiter cleared the plates, my eyes drifted once again to the bouquet. White lilies wrapped in a soft cream ribbon, with a small card discreetly tucked between the stems. No name, just one number at the bottom, 14. I pretended not to see it. Raphael asked for the check and stood up to use the restroom, leaving his wallet on the table. It was a careless move, almost naive, as if trust were as sturdy as that heavy wooden table. But trust creaks. And that night, it creaked. The bill arrived folded. I opened it absently to check the total. As I went to put it back, a different slip of paper peeked out. A crumpled receipt. A business hotel. The same one I'd seen glowing on the map app. Date, Tuesday. Time, 11:17 p.m. Right when I was home alone, picking a bad movie just to keep from thinking. The letters blurred in front of me, but there was no drama on my face. Not yet. I put everything back in place, paid the bill, and smiled at the waiter like someone carrying nothing. On the way out, Raphael made a comment about the wine, about the light traffic, about something, anything, that didn't matter. I listened with the flawless naturality women are trained in since girlhood. In the car, he turned on the radio. An old love ballad played, the kind that once belonged to someone else's story. I stared out the window, watching the city lights pass by like evidence from a crime only I knew existed. When we got home, he kissed my forehead gently, like always. I smiled back, like always. I waited to hear the shower run, then the zipper of the work bag, and only then did I sit in the kitchen, alone, with my heart and the receipt spread out on the table. I didn't cry, I didn't scream, I didn't do anything the movies teach us to do. I just looked at the lilies in the center of the room, so flawless, and realized their scent now smelled like trespass. The next morning, the house carried that neutral post-dinner scent. A faint trace of garlic at the sink, glasses waiting in the dishwasher, and a comfortable silence that used to mean routine. But nothing felt comfortable anymore. The receipt had slept beside the coffee maker, folded 3 times, like a poorly kept secret. I opened my banking app to check on a work payment, scrolled through a list of predictable transactions, groceries, the bakery, a streaming subscription, and then there it was again. The same hotel, another charge. One on Wednesday during a supposed meeting. Another, a month earlier. Same time, same day. 2 Wednesdays. 2 disappearances dressed up as a full schedule. I felt my stomach drop a level. But it wasn't shock, not yet. It was confirmation. It's strange how truth doesn't always explode when it arrives. Sometimes, it just leaks in. I picked up the phone, still using the calm voice of someone asking for a loaf of bread. I called the florist who had delivered the lilies. A woman answered, her tone laced with that sweet cheerfulness you find in customer service voices. "Good morning, this is Livia. I just wanted to thank you for the flowers. They were beautiful," I began, wearing a rehearsed smile that never reached my eyes. "Just out of curiosity, could you tell me who placed the order?" I heard the quick tapping of keys in the background. A soft, "One moment, please." Then she answered, with the kind of efficiency that has no idea the damage it's doing. It was a woman named Sophia. She said it was for a couple celebrating 10 years together. I swallowed hard, but kept the tone bright. "Ah, of course, Sophia. Perfect. Thank you so much. You really did a lovely job." I hung up and stared at the phone, as if it might help me make sense of the math that didn't add up. The best friend who always swore she was a safe harbor. The lilies were beautiful, but now they felt like irony made flesh, pure flowers, born from a lie. Sophia's generosity, confirmed by a receipt, didn't ease my unease. It just polished it. I took a deep breath and dialed her number. Sophia answered on the second ring, with the lightness of someone whose world is perfectly in order. "Hey, love," she said, her voice wrapped in that soft, familiar laugh. "I was just thinking, we should do something on Saturday." I cut her off, gently, but sharp as glass. "Thank you for the flowers." A quick silence followed, the kind only noticeable to those who know silence well. Then a hurried little laugh. "You saw them?" "Rafa called me last minute, said he didn't have time, and it might ruin the surprise if he ordered from the office. I just helped." The phrase "I just helped" is a pillow made of thorns. "Of course," I replied, doing my best to keep my voice from wavering. They were beautiful. We spoke for another minute about nothing. The weather, a new restaurant, a film she recommended. But every word now echoed, like it was hiding something beneath it. I ended the call with an automatic, "Love you." So automatic it felt like breathing. And for the first time in my life, I realized those 2 words might mean absolutely nothing. 2 days later, Sophia showed up at my door with a lemon cake wrapped in wax paper. The kind of gesture that, once upon a time, would have made me cry with gratitude. We sat in the living room, chatting about nothing for half an hour. Raphael, polite, greeted her and said he was heading to the store to buy ice. But I saw it. I saw her eyes follow him to the door, not like someone admiring a friend, but like someone checking on a shared secret. She complimented the flowers for the third time. I smiled and poured the tea. The friendship felt damp in all the wrong places, like a cake that rose too fast and caved in the middle. When she left, I sat alone in the room, the scent of lemon still hanging in the air. I touched the wilted petals of the lilies and felt something bitter rise. Part nostalgia, part premonition. The following week, the sound was no longer subtle. It roared. A credit card statement with a duplicated charge from the same hotel. I could have gone there, demanded footage, made a scene. I could have turned suspicion into a full-blown fire. But I know myself. I prefer to organize facts in silence, until the silence loses its power. I sat at the table with a cup of cold coffee and faced myself. What if I'm just seeing ghosts? What if my anxiety is that cruel? I booked a therapy session, not to confirm a betrayal, but to confirm me. To find the moment when I started explaining the inexplicable, the point where I began accepting absences that were too well justified. And it was there, with the receipt in front of me and the lemon cake still sitting on the counter, that I finally saw it. Wednesdays, playlists, flowers, none of it was just routine. They were pieces of a puzzle someone had hidden in plain sight. I waited until night fell. The house felt smaller than ever, as if the furniture had known the secret before I did. The lamp in the living room cast a tired yellow light on the wall, and the sound of the kettle on the stove ticked like an impatient clock. Raphael walked through the door at 8 p.m. sharp, his hair tousled, carrying that familiar scent of wet asphalt. He dropped his keys on the console and smiled, that same half-smile that had anchored me for years. But this time, it didn't reach me. "We need to talk," I said. My voice was steady. No yelling, no tremor. He felt it. His body, always big, always sure, seemed to shrink a little. We sat at the table where we used to share dreams and bills. I placed the folded hotel receipt between us. He looked at it, then at me, and his eyes quickly searched for anything that wasn't my face. "I can explain," he murmured. "Then explain," I replied, calm. But the silence between us had claws. He ran his hands over his face, as if trying to erase a mistake etched into his skin. "It was once... No, twice," he began, voice thick. "It wasn't planned. It wasn't a romance. It was mismanaged panic." I closed my eyes for a second, because the image of Sophia laughing in our kitchen, holding the child I never got to meet, cut through me like glass. "When?" I asked. "When exactly?" He inhaled slowly, as if each word were a stone in his throat. "It was when you were sick. That time when the world..." He swallowed hard. "When the world almost took you. And then, after we lost the baby. We lost the baby." Those words carried a weight of their own, a sound that hadn't echoed between us since the hospital. I felt the ground shift beneath me. The air turned heavier than the furniture. "You..." My voice came out as a whisper that hurt. "You found in her what you couldn't find in me?" "I found a way to escape," he said, his shoulders curling like a scolded boy. "I was so scared of losing you. So scared, so paralyzed, that I hid in the only person who seemed to know what you needed. But I didn't want to save her. I wanted to save me. I was empty. And when you needed me whole, I showed up half. I let the silence settle, not to punish him, but because my body needed room to fit this new truth. I remembered the nights I woke up alone, physical and emotional pain tangled together, our bedroom steeped in polite silence. I remembered the times he left to take care of work stuff while I sat counting the hours between doses of medication. I remembered Sophia bringing soup and blankets, and the way they exchanged brief glances I once translated as concern. I trusted her, I said, each word carefully chewed. I trusted you. While I was trying to gather my broken pieces, you two decided I didn't need to know. I hate myself for it, he said, his voice cracking. I wasn't looking for what I had in you. I was looking for a shortcut through the fear. But shortcuts don't work. The tears came silently, without warning. Not the cinematic kind, but the kind that burns without making a sound. You have no idea what it's like to wake up in the middle of the night, bleeding, and realize the life growing inside you isn't going to exist, I said, finally letting anger pierce through the sadness. And still believe that someone in this world is holding you together. Only to find out that while I was fighting to survive, you were out, breathing air that wasn't mine. He cried too, face buried in his hands. But I felt no satisfaction. His pain didn't pay my debt. We stayed like that for long minutes. Two people sitting at a table, with ghosts walking freely through the room. When I could finally speak again, my voice came out tired but steady. I don't know what we're going to be after this conversation. All I know is that today, here, I won't sweep this under the rug. You need to understand the size of the hole you dug, and how close I came to disappearing into it. He nodded, still not lifting his head. No promises. No, it'll be okay. Just the sound of the wall clock, marking a time that would never return. That night stretched longer than the others. The living room clock ticked louder than usual, as if trying to remind me of every second between what I knew before and what I knew now. Raphael had fallen asleep on the couch, no blanket, his face crumpled from crying. There was no embrace, no shouted rage, just a quiet that filled the corners of the house like smoke. I stood at a distance, watching him, and something inside me whispered, "Even when we love, we can fail. Deeply." The man who once held my hand in the hospital, who promised me the world when we found out I was pregnant, now looked like a worn-out stranger, a survivor of a war he helped ignite. I grabbed my coat and left, didn't slam the door, didn't want to give silence the drama it was craving. The street was almost empty, just a cat darting across the pavement, a tipped-over trash can on the corner. The air had that cold, familiar scent of small-town nights, a mix of stale bread and dust, and I breathed it in, trying to fill my chest with anything that wasn't pain. I wandered without a destination. The closed shop windows reflected someone who looked older than she was. I passed the square where, years ago, Raphael had proposed. I remembered Sophia taking our pictures that night, her laughter echoing like the world was immune to tragedy. Only now, with the wound raw, did I notice forgotten details. Her hand lingering a second too long on his when handing over the glass, the way she looked away when I hugged her. Back then, they were tiny gestures. Today, they were screaming signs. I sat on a cold bench and closed my eyes. The memories rushed in like a flood. I saw myself in the hospital 2 years ago, body fragile, heart shattered. The sound of monitors, the smell of antiseptic and wilted flowers. I remembered the hollow feeling after the loss, a silence that ached in my bones. And I realized that while I was trying to rebuild myself, Raphael was escaping. To riverside bars and arms that weren't mine, not out of passion, out of cowardice. My phone vibrated. A message. The number was familiar, but unsaved. For a moment, the world narrowed. I opened the screen. Livia, I heard you found out. I didn't want it to happen like this. Sophia. The rage I thought had dried up returned like fresh blood. Her words were too measured, too delicate for the damage they represented. I typed, erased, retyped, wanted to scream, wanted to accuse. But I only sent, "Not now." I walked back home slowly, like someone returning from a minefield. At every corner, memories ambushed me. Raphael laughing with Sophia at some private joke, her carefully choosing gifts for the baby who never came, him saying, "She's like a sister to us," and me believing him. When I arrived, Raphael was still on the couch, his face turned toward the wall. The living room looked like an old photograph. Familiar, but strange. I grabbed a blanket and covered his feet. Not out of affection, but out of habit. I went upstairs, but sleep never came. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, listening to the creaks in the wood, each one a question with no answer. In that thick silence, I realized something important. It wasn't just the physical betrayal that hurt. It was the invisible abandonment. The realization that, while I was bleeding and pretending to be strong, he was somewhere else, sharing the grief that should have been ours with someone outside. I picked up an old notebook and started to write. Not lists, not plans, just words scattered across the page. Loss, loneliness, courage, choices, truth. I wrote until sunrise, until anger softened into a quiet, almost dignified sadness. When the morning light slipped through the curtains, I still had no answers. But I knew one thing. This story wouldn't end at that dinner table or on that concrete hotel bench. I was going to follow the labyrinth to the end. Not for revenge, but because I deserved to understand the ground I was standing on. And maybe I deserved the chance to decide, on my own, what to do with what was left of our love. The day broke with an indecent brightness, as if the sun had no idea what had happened. I rose slowly, my body heavy, my mind pulsing. In the kitchen, the kettle started to whistle, a reminder that routine still existed, even when life felt suspended. Raphael was at the table, wrinkled pajamas, devastated face, hands clasped like someone praying without faith. His eyes searched for mine, but I offered nothing. I made coffee in silence, set out 2 cups, but poured only 1. A small gesture, but full of message. He opened his mouth to say something, then gave up. We chewed the silence with our toast. The clock on the wall ticked too loud. The phone rang in the living room, shattering the stillness. I answered. The doorman's voice was polite and neutral. "Ma'am, there's a woman named Sophia downstairs. She says she's a friend." My heart skipped. I took a deep breath, opened the door to the hallway, and waited a few seconds before going down. When I opened the gate, there she was, Sophia. Hair pulled back in haste, pale face, glassy eyes. She looked smaller than I remembered. She began, her voice faltering. I don't even know where to start." "Not here," I interrupted, my voice firm and low. "Not in our house." Before she could respond, Raphael appeared behind me. His face hardened when he saw her. Sophia looked down, ashamed. The silence between them was nearly touchable. He stepped past me, walked up to her, and said calmly but firmly, "Go home, Sophia. Not now." She nodded, stepped back, and walked down the sidewalk without looking back. I closed the gate slowly, trying to keep my breath steady. When I turned around, Raphael was already in the bedroom. From the hallway, I heard the zipper of a suitcase. I walked in and saw him folding shirts, his movements fast, mechanical. "Running away?" I asked, my voice cold. "I'm not running. I'm leaving." He didn't even look at me. "I'm not going to poison this house by pretending nothing happened." "To where?" I asked, testing the edge in my tone. "It doesn't matter. I'm not going to her place, if that's what you're wondering." He took a deep breath. And this time, he looked at me. "I need to give you space. I need to find out what's left of me when I'm not standing next to you." He closed the suitcase, walked past me slowly, and the sound of the door closing behind him felt like a verdict. But suspicion is a living thing. I grabbed my car keys, waited a minute, maybe 2, and went down to the garage. I started the engine with trembling hands and kept a safe distance. I watched him place his suitcase in the trunk, get into his car, and drive off. I followed, headlights dimmed. The streets felt longer that morning, as if the world were giving me a chance to turn back. But I kept going. He drove slowly, passed through neighborhoods without looking around. I recognized the route. No, it wasn't toward Sophia's place. It was another direction entirely. He took a wide avenue, then turned onto a quiet, tree-lined street where office buildings and budget hotels stood side by side. Finally, he stopped in front of a modest hotel, its facade plain and unassuming. He got out, spoke briefly with the receptionist, and went inside. No sign of Sophia. No whispered texts. No theatrics. Just a man alone, carrying the weight of his mistake. I sat in my car for a few minutes. Relief didn't come like an embrace. It came like a broken sigh. Part of me wanted to race home and cry. Part of me wanted to storm the hotel and scream. But instead, I started the car, circled the block, and drove home slowly. As I drove, I noticed something strange. Relief and pain can live in the same breath. I didn't know what would happen between us from here on. But for one moment, in that anonymous parking lot, I knew at least he hadn't run into her arms, and in a quiet, bitter way that felt like a thread of hope. I came back home like someone walking on glass. The key turned in the lock with a pitch too sharp for a silent Sunday. The living room felt bigger, not because of empty space, but because he was gone. The walls seemed to whisper secrets I hadn't been able to hear until now. I spent the whole afternoon tidying things that didn't need tidying, straightening books on the shelf, changing sheets, rewashing the kettle that was already clean. It wasn't cleaning, it was surviving. With every mechanical movement, my chest searched for air. Monday came. I turned off the alarm early, but didn't go to work. I sat on the porch with a mug of strong coffee and listened to the neighborhood wake up. The baker opened his shop, the neighbor's dog barked, a couple argued about where to eat lunch. The world, shameless, kept going. I decided to walk, threw on an old hoodie, grabbed my headphones, but never pressed play. The silence of the streets taught me a different kind of music. I walked to a park where children chased pigeons and sat on a random bench. There, I breathed, slowly. For the first time in a long while, I noticed the smell of the grass, the sound of leaves brushing each other. I didn't cry. I didn't smile. I simply was. In the days that followed, I began to build a new rhythm, one that no longer revolved around us. On Tuesday nights, I cooked just for me. Nothing fancy. Pasta with garlic and olive oil. I ate at the table with a candle lit, not for romance, but to honor the moment. On Thursdays, I visited the bookstore we used to go to together. I bought a novel, chosen simply because the cover stared back at me. On Saturday mornings, I started biking through the neighborhood. I felt the wind on my face and discovered streets I had never noticed before. With each small act, my inner world began to grow roots. There was a quiet dignity in offering myself quality time, even when my heart still pulsed with ache. One evening, I invited Helena for coffee. She listened, no invasive questions, then shared mundane stories from work. We laughed over silly things, and I was grateful to laugh without asking permission from my grief. At night, I started a new journal. In it, I wrote fragmented truths. Today, I existed alone, and it didn't hurt as much. Solitude can be rehearsal space, not exile. Loss isn't only absence. Sometimes it's room to be found. Sometimes I looked at the empty space in the bed and felt a strange peace. Other times, the longing hit like a sucker punch. But in both cases, this was my life, returned to my hands. No riddles, no hidden maps. The mornings began to feel less sharp. Coffee tasted like coffee again. And little by little, I learned I didn't need to fill every moment just to avoid feeling. I could simply be. And that was enough. The weeks stretched out, woven from new routines and quiet pauses that no longer suffocated me. I went back to work with some lightness, laughed at Helena's jokes, and even started caring for the plants that had nearly died of thirst. Just like I had. But every now and then, a memory would slip through. A scent, a song, a corner of the house, reminding me that the emptiness still had a name. On a gray Tuesday after a postponed meeting, I decided to stop by the cafe we used to visit on Saturdays. That place smelled of buttered toast and beginnings. I hesitated on the sidewalk. Part of me wanted to avoid ghosts. Another part needed to prove I wasn't afraid. I walked in. The doorbell chimed, just like always. And there he was. Raphael. Sitting at our favorite table, the one by the window. Not with someone else. Not with a book. Just him, hands cradling a cup the way someone holds a secret. For a second, the world shrank. The chatter, the clink of cups, everything faded. He saw me and froze. His eyes met mine with a mix of surprise and softness. Neither of us smiled. Neither of us moved. I walked to the counter like my body had no bones. Ordered a short coffee. Waited. My heart both heavy and weightless. There were no rehearsed lines, no dramatic gestures. I picked up my cup and walked out, carrying the composure that adulthood demands. Outside, the cold air caught me off guard. I took 3 steps before giving in to the temptation to glance back. He was still there. Still. Looking through the window. Not at the street, not at nothing, but at the space where I had just been. And then I felt it. I missed him. Not the man who hurt me. Not the silence filled with omissions. But the man who once held my hand in a hospital hallway and said, with the firmest voice he could manage, that we would survive. I remembered the night he crossed the city in the middle of the night, just to bring me chicken soup when I was sick and teary. I remembered the birthday he spent hours editing a video of our photos, because he knew I needed to see myself happy to believe again. The memories rolled in like a tide. The way he'd tuck my hair behind my ear without saying a word. The patience he showed while I chose flowers for the garden, even though he hated gardening. The little notes he left in my bag, with silly lines like, "Today's a good day to fall in love with you again." My chest ached in a familiar way, not just from longing, but from the realization that loving someone doesn't erase the hurt, but it doesn't erase the good either. With the warm cup in my hand, I whispered to myself, "I still feel it." I took a deep breath, lifted my chin, and walked to my car. I didn't look back again. But inside, a door I thought was locked had creaked open, just enough to let me know that maybe, just maybe, love, even wounded, still lived somewhere between us. That night, after seeing him at the cafe, the world felt slightly off-kilter. I lay in bed, but sleep never came. Raphael's gaze lingered in my mind like an unfinished melody. It wasn't an invitation. It wasn't an apology. It was just presence. And presence sometimes is what we miss the most. In the days that followed, I carried on. Work, morning walks, Saturday grocery runs, quiet Wednesdays. But now and then, while slicing tomatoes or folding sheets, a memory would surface. His soft chuckle when something truly amused him. The way he rested his chin in his hand when I spoke about a book I loved. These memories no longer hurt like they used to. They still stung, but with a sweetness. A reminder that love isn't only about the mistakes. A week later, as I waited for the elevator, my phone buzzed. A simple message. "Hope you enjoyed the coffee." That was all. I stared at the screen for long seconds, my heart torn between replying or deleting. Slowly, I typed, "I did. It was good to see you." Then I slipped the phone back into my pocket, like someone hiding a grenade they have no intention of using. 2 days later, I saw him drive down the street where I was walking. He didn't stop, just slowed down and gave a small wave. I answered with an even smaller one. There was no urgency, no pressure, just a quiet acknowledgement. Another week passed. I was at the supermarket, debating between 2 brands of whole wheat bread, when I heard his voice behind me. "Still can't decide, huh?" I turned and found that shy smile, the one that had once been my safe harbor. We stood there, surrounded by strangers and shelves, chatting about mundane things, fruit prices, busy schedules, traffic. We didn't talk about us. But the normalcy of that moment tasted like reunion. A few days later, he sent a message mid-afternoon. "I don't want to pressure you, but if you're open to it, I'd love to meet for coffee. Somewhere else, your choice." I took a deep breath and replied, "Okay, but just coffee." We picked a neutral bakery, far from old memories. The meeting was short. He didn't try to explain anything, didn't ask for anything. We talked about music, a new movie, a work project of his. I told him about a plant that finally bloomed on my balcony. When we said goodbye, he didn't try to touch me. He just said, "Thank you for coming." A week later, it rained hard. The street outside my building flooded, and I was coming home from work with heavy bags in hand when I got a message. "Are you okay over there? Want help with the groceries?" He didn't show up uninvited, didn't intrude. He just offered. I said I was fine. But when I closed the door behind me, I felt a quiet wave of relief, just knowing someone still cared. That's how the following days were. Casual encounters, occasional messages, small gestures. He didn't try to rebuild the world all at once. I didn't try to forget overnight. Somehow, without saying it, we both seemed to understand. Love isn't fireworks. It's a candle lit gently, and it only shines when sheltered from the wind. One Saturday, I found a letter he had left months ago tucked inside a book I never finished. Just one sentence, written on a wrinkled piece of paper. "One day, when the pain fits in my pocket, I want to show you I still know how to choose flowers." I held the note for a long while. I didn't cry. But for the first time in weeks, I smiled. A warm, quiet smile. The following Wednesday, at 8:17 a.m., there was no playlist, just a short message. "I'm at the cafe today. If you just want to watch from the window, that's okay. If you want to come in, that's okay too." I took my time replying, showered slowly, pulled my hair back, and left the house. Not to reconcile, not to bring closure, just to tell the universe I still had curiosity. We left the cafe without rush, like 2 strangers who happened to choose the same sidewalk. The pavement was still wet from a short rain, and the puddles reflected streetlights like little wells of memory. The cool air carried the smell of post-rain city, iron, leaves, and things forgotten. We walked side by side, without touching. Even our footsteps sounded louder than they should. I caught myself studying his profile, the way he adjusted his coat, a simple gesture that always held an unintentional kind of grace. I noticed his subtle cologne, the kind that clings to memories, and the way his shoulders still looked like home. A warm ache bloomed inside me. Not just desire, but memory, story, the quiet recognition of everything we once were. At my building, he stopped just shy of the gate. The silence stretched between us like a held breath. I knew one small move could close the distance. And for a moment, I wanted to. I saw the same flicker in his eyes. A breath caught, a body leaning in just slightly, but neither of us moved. I swallowed what I almost said and gave a polite smile that sounded false even to me. "Good night, Rafa," I said, my voice calmer than my chest. "Good night, Livia," he replied, then turned away. I stood there until he disappeared around the corner. Only then did I go inside. The days that followed were long and strange. Even if I wouldn't admit it, I was waiting. Waiting for a message, an excuse, anything to say. This isn't over. But my phone never lit up with his name. The world kept spinning as if nothing had happened, while inside me everything felt suspended. At work, I messed up simple numbers. At night, I left the TV on just to drown out the sound of my own questions. Twice, I picked up my phone to send something silly. "Hey, how are you?" And twice, I erased it before hitting send. Pride and fear wrestled inside me, and neither one won. On the 7th day, I woke up feeling like the world was whole, but I wasn't. I made the coffee stronger than usual, as if bitterness could be a remedy. The phone stayed silent, and I had already begun building that comfortable lie. "I'm not expecting anything." Then it buzzed. His name lit up the screen like a secret that slipped. I answered before courage could abandon me. "Livia." His voice came low, weighted, with a long pause after my name. "I need to tell you something important." My body stiffened. "I'm moving. It's a new project, abroad. It's big. It'll take time and distance." There was a second of silence, the kind that lasts years. Then he said it, plain and unpolished. "I want you to come with me." For a moment, the ground vanished beneath my feet. It wasn't just a travel invitation. It was a request to walk through ruins with me, to rebuild far from everything that hurt. The memories rushed in like a wave. Lazy mornings, his easy laughter, and the emptiness of those Wednesdays I ate alone. My throat tightened. Words took their time. "Rafa." I spoke slowly, buying seconds. "I don't know yet. I can't answer right now." He didn't protest. His breathing on the line sounded like someone accepting a necessary weight. "I understand. Just think about it. No pressure. I don't want this to be rushed or a patch over old wounds." When I hung up, I stared at the black screen like it might give me clarity. It didn't. All I saw was my reflection, a woman who knows that love can be courage, but also knows that courage needs time. The days that followed were unstable territory. Not just days, minefields of memory. I went to work, replied to emails, smiled at neighbors in the elevator. But inside, everything trembled. At night, I sat on the floor of the living room with a mug of cold tea and made invisible lists. Things that hurt. Things that survived. Things that still wanted to exist. I remembered the weight of betrayal like someone touching a scar. Not to reopen it, but to acknowledge it exists. I remembered the flowers without a card, the hesitation in his eyes, the confession that crumbled the entire room. But I also remembered the quiet fidelities, the way he held me in cold hospital corridors, the blanket he tucked around my shoulders when the fever burned. Grown-up love is made of contradictions, a mosaic of collapse and rescue. I spent an entire morning walking through the city, playing out scenarios in my head. If I went, would I be lying to myself? If I stayed, would I be running away? Sometimes anger shouted louder. He hurt me. Why should I cross the world with him? Other times, longing whispered back. Because he's also the man who held you when everything went dark. The day before his flight, I almost called to quit deciding altogether. But something in me said, wait. This decision needed to be born without witnesses. The airport, on the day of his departure, had that bluish light that doesn't quite belong anywhere. The overhead announcements sounded far away, like they were calling flights to other planets. I arrived early and stood behind a column just watching. There he was, Raphael, near the gate, holding his suitcase like it was a decision too fragile to carry. His thumb traced the handle over and over, nervously checking the clock, then the entrance, then the clock again. For a moment, I saw the man who once sprinted through a hospital to make it to one of my tests. The same man who sang out of tune when he thought I was asleep. He wore his favorite dark coat, his hair messier than he liked, and his shoulders were tense with a fear that wasn't about flying. It was the fear of being alone with the emptiness he had created. The way he bit his lower lip, the way his eyes scanned the terminal like he was hoping for a miracle. They showed a kind of vulnerability no grand apology could fake. I felt something twist in my chest. Not pity, but recognition. I saw the man who failed me, and the man who, even in his failure, had been my shelter in so many storms. I remembered the weight of silent Wednesdays, and the warmth of mornings when he made me laugh just to break the cold. I took a deep breath, fingers trembling around my bag strap. I could have walked away. I could have let him cross an ocean with his guilt. But I realized that my absence would be a final sentence, and I wasn't ready to close that book. So I walked toward him slowly, each step a negotiation between pride and love. When he finally saw me, the world paused. His eyes lit up with a relief that looked like it hurt. "You came?" His voice cracked like the sentence didn't quite fit in his chest. I stopped in front of him, close enough to smell his familiar scent mixed with the sweat of nerves. My heart pounded, but my words were steady. "I thought a lot, Raphael. More than I thought I could. I weighed everything. The pain, the anger, the lonely Wednesdays, and also the hugs that kept me alive, the quiet kindness no one else saw. I haven't forgotten anything. Not the wounds. Not the ways you held me together." He said nothing, his chest rising and falling too fast. "And," he whispered, like someone bracing for a verdict. I inhaled the heavy airport air and said, "And I've decided. I want to try again. Not because it's easy, but because it's still worth it. I don't want our story to end with playlist maps and a cold hotel room. I want to see if we can rebuild, not the same as before, but better." The tears he tried to hide caught the airport light. He didn't move to hug me. I didn't move either. We stood there, one step apart, letting the moment breathe. I knew that yes didn't erase anything, but I also knew that opening a door can be braver than closing one. He wiped his face, took a breath, and said with a voice thick with emotion, "I promise. No, I will learn to be present. Truly." And for the first time in a long while, the Wednesday inside me didn't hurt. We arrived in a new country with heavy suitcases and a kind of relief that couldn't fit in any of them. The airport felt like a strange universe, signs I couldn't read, unfamiliar smells. The late afternoon breeze carried something different in it, like a language I didn't yet know how to speak. In the taxi, I leaned my head against the window and watched unfamiliar streets go by. Old buildings sharing space with cozy cafes glowing under warm lights. Raphael rested a hand gently on my knee. Not like before. There was no claim in the gesture. Just a quiet touch. Like he was asking for permission to stay. The first weeks were a mess of chaos and wonder. We unpacked boxes with forced patience, hung crooked frames, argued about where the couch should go. We laughed when we realized none of our pans fit in the tiny kitchen cabinet. He built makeshift shelves out of planks from a shop on the corner. I learned how to ask for bread at the bakery using smiles and hand gestures, because my vocabulary hadn't caught up yet. At night, after long days filled with paperwork and paper maps, we'd sit on the floor, surrounded by half-open boxes, sharing cheap pizza from the corner shop. A bottle of cheap wine completed the scene. There were no playlists, just the sound of utensils on paper plates and conversations that started light, the doorman's accent, the weird coffee, the cat that kept walking past our window. Little by little, those conversations dug deeper. Sweet memories, buried wounds, quiet plans. One night, it rained. Raphael opened the window and let the smell of wet pavement drift into the still dusty living room. I sat on the thin rug, wrapped in a blanket that still smelled like cardboard. He passed me a slice of pizza and laughed at his own joke about the wine tasting like vinegar. I laughed too, a soft, unguarded laugh that didn't need to prove itself. That was the moment. Low lighting, messy furniture, hearts tired but whole, when it hit me. I looked at him from the side. hair falling across his forehead, eyes focused while wiping the rim of his glass with his thumb. It wasn't grand. It wasn't a promise. It was just him, imperfect, present, with me. And I felt peace I didn't expect. I still loved him. Not with the innocence I once had, but with something sturdier. A conscious choice. That night, before turning off the lights, he wrapped an arm around me and mumbled something ordinary, some comment about the rain tapping on the window. And lying next to him, I understood. Adult happiness isn't fireworks or cinematic lines. It's made of moments like these. Cheap wine, cold pizza, unscripted conversations, and a man who, even after everything, still knew how to make me smile. It was there, in a foreign country and a half-built home, that I knew. Trying again was worth it. Sophia reached out a few times in the months that followed. Tentative messages, like someone asking for permission to exist. I asked for space and time. There was no hatred, just wounds too fresh for an old friendship. Later, Helena told me she'd gotten married, moved to another city, and opened an art studio. I felt happy for her, quietly. Some stories don't return, and that's okay. These choices were made over a decade ago. Back then, I thought big decisions came with divine clarity, loud signs from the universe. They didn't. They came with fear, with half-packed boxes, with cold pizza and cheap glasses. They came with a simple question. Do you still want this? And an answer I couldn't bring myself to deny. Today, I'm sitting by the fireplace, the crackle of the logs stitching the silence of the night. The house we built, brick by brick, conversation by conversation, holds the fingerprints of our story in every corner. The scratch on the living room floor from our first Christmas tree. The crooked shelf he swears is part of the charm. The old blanket that still smells faintly of those early nights in a foreign land. Raphael is right there, a few feet away, lying on the rug, our 2 children orbiting around him like wild little planets. He's building a fortress with colorful blocks, pretending a dragon is attacking, laughing loud enough to shake the walls. And that smile, it's still the same. The same smile that once cut through my pain. The one that reached me across airport gates. The one I followed across oceans to try again. Watching this moment feels like flipping through a photo album only I can see. I glimpse the first night in the new city, the first I love you after the storm. The small gestures that rebuilt what once felt broken. It wasn't easy. It never is. But it was real. It was alive. It was ours. I'm writing this now because I don't want to forget. Not just the pain we endured, but what we overcame. Because grown-up love isn't about perfection or altar promises. It's about presence. It's about choosing every day. It's about having the courage to walk through the quiet. I close the notebook, get up, and walk to them. Raphael looks up and meets my eyes, and in that look is a full confession. It was worth it. Every strange Wednesday, every question, every restart. I sit beside him. Our hands find each other. No script, no signal. And in that moment, with children laughing, with firelight dancing on the walls, the world feels exactly right. If this story stirred something in you, share it with someone who needs to believe in quiet restarts. Sometimes it's a small gesture that gives another life a reason to hope again.